Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the relatively rare Steel Ghost-type Pokemon Honedge and Evolution Doublade, the two collectively known as the Sword Pokémon, and the final, exceptionally rare evolution Aegislash, the Royal Sword Pokémon. Quite harshly armed and dangerous, and more than able to cut opponents down to size, the members of the Honedge family are terrifying entities that should be feared by all that don't have access to serious armor to protect them from close quarters combat. Honedge have a large bladed sword for a body, the blade itself being a dull whitish grey color, with a dark rusted broad handle and a large blue claw tassel attached to the pommel end, with a light blue swirl pattern and 4-part breathed extension at the very end. A large blue eye with a black center acts as the pommel for the blade, and as a whole, they tend to keep their sword bodies hidden in a large antique scabbard with a complex swirl pattern emblazoned upon it, with black accents at the tip and white accents like a mouth at the base of the scabbard. Their evolved form, Doublade, have the exact same form to them, with the main differences being that the cloth attached to their bodies is now pink in color, and as their name suggests, the entity consists of two blades that are linked together when not attacking, sheathed in a special scabbard that allows them to rest in a crossed position. Their final evolution, Aegislash, have only a single blade for a body as a result of the Doublade fusing together, but it shines through with a thick golden blade with white gold trimming on its sides and semi-jagged point, with a large multi-layered golden handle and a pair of black metallic arms to the sides, the massive pommel eye in the center having turned violet with a white pupil and black and gold detailing around the pommel eye itself. Furthermore, while the right arm has their claw tassel with a violet swirl design at the end, the left arm is mainly used to hold and wield a massive gilded shield with a bronze rim and tri-part inner crest, 3 gold-ribbed interior portions, and a trio of black and bronze swirl markings in its center. The members of the Honedge family represent a very unique form of spiritual possession in that they consist of lost spirits that have tethered themselves to this world by permanently possessing old swords, usually being the spirits of individuals who were killed by said swords. In this form, these creatures are literally living weapons in and of themselves, as they have the capacity to alter the physical state of their occupied body just as any swordsmith would, sharpening dull blades and tempering them with heat in order to strengthen them. For reasons that are still not well understood, these creatures are master swordsmen and have proven to be capable of outfighting even the best human swordsmen in the world. The problem with this is that these creatures seem to have inherited this ability through possession alone, and do not require much in the way of private training to perfect their craft. It has been hypothesized by some that this might be because the spirits possessing these old swords are actually those of soldiers that died on the battlefield. Whether or not this is true, however, has yet to be seen. Nonetheless, this grants these creatures a unique mix of attacks and techniques perfectly suited for their abnormal anatomical form, including the rare sacred sword attack, which is otherwise only seen among a scant few species of Pokemon. Moreover, although they are technically better suited for defense than offense for the most part, these creatures have proven to be more than resourceful in acquiring more power and skill over time, and can gradually become some of the most powerful Ghost and Steel-type Pokemon out there, especially when taking into account that Honedge and Doublade both possess the rare No Guard ability as their only base ability, as a consequence of using their entire body as a weapon unguarded, while Aegislash are an entirely different force to be reckoned with in battle, as the stance change ability dominates their combat attributes. As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Aegislash, their overall combat attributes are entirely dependent upon the different stance they take in battle, but they're able to use both extreme power and defense to make themselves incredibly difficult to handle, their base HP and speed stats being the only two that are not above average for fully evolved Ghost and Steel-type Pokemon, and they further possess the highest base attack stat out of all non-UB, Steel, and Ghost-type Pokemon in general, and the highest non-legendary base special attack stat out of all Steel-type Pokemon in Blade form, as well as the highest base special defense stat out of all Ghost-type Pokemon in Shield form, rendering them a truly terrifying weapon to face in almost any combat scenario. While they might be the weakest member of their family, Honedge are nonetheless powerful physical fighters that can both deal and receive considerable physical punishment in battle. Unlike most of the Ghost-type Pokemon that possess at least some form of special offense, Honedge and their evolutions by default are almost completely incapable of learning special attacks. This may be the result of them bonding too strongly with their chosen vessel, in turn making their offensive and defensive powers completely dependent upon the physical construct they have possessed in order to remain in the world of the living. Much as with most Ghost-type Pokemon, these creatures need to feed on life energy in order to survive, and Honedge have managed to find a sneaky way to do so. In the wild, these creatures will remain in a short stasis on the ground, in which the pommel of the sword they possess goes dark, and they look like nothing more than an old sword left out in the open. When a prey item gets close enough to grab the hilt of the sword, however, they readily reveal themselves and open their eye, which happens to be the pommel as noted before. From there, they will unsheath themselves from their protective casing and wrap the long blue cloth attached to their body around the target, sapping enough life energy to sustain itself for a few weeks before fleeing. This sneaky tactic makes Honedge not only hard to find, but even harder to battle and capture, as they prefer to avoid battle at all times if possible. This tactic does not work so well in battle as one might imagine, but this is of little importance as these blades are expert swordsmen from the moment of creation, and can easily rival other Pokemon designed with such a combat ability, like Doublade. The real problem with Honedge is that their special defense and speed stats are quite low, but in a physical fight, this is a minor issue at best and does little to take away from their efficiency in battle. When Honedge reach a point in their lives where they have gained enough energy to become a greater force in battle, they too naturally evolve like many other Pokemon. Unlike most others, however, evolution in Honedge does not trigger true change, but a split. In essence, Honedge split into two swords upon evolving, forming the devastating duo that is Doublade. Although one would think that they would retain the same mass, in all truth, these creatures use nearby metal ions gathered through filtered spiritual energy to reform both swords as a complete form, literally giving them more than twice the mass as before and twice the thinking ability. The two swords consist of two separate minds, but they are normally incapable of acting independently, as the minds of the blades are permanently linked through telepathy. As such, every alternating attack of offense and defense that they deliver is perfectly coordinated, strategized, and capable of literally slicing apart the opposition with ease. Just as with Honedge, Doublade are still expert swordsmen, and together able to attack in unison to break down the defenses of even the greatest swordsmen in the world, human and Pokemon alike, oftentimes going one step further by unnerving opponents with the screeching metallic sound made when their blades grind against each other. The only real major issue that comes with these creatures is that they have to consume twice as much spiritual energy to survive, but this is a minor issue at best, as Doublade are strong enough to steal life energy directly without relying on sneak attacks to do the job. Trainers that are looking to make the most of these creatures will have to be mindful of the way these two units attack together. They can easily be disrupted if they are confused or otherwise forced to attack or defend by themselves, but together, not even light armor will be enough to stop them from literally shredding their opponents to ribbons. Although Doublade are generally considered to be the natural, fully evolved form of the Honedge family, when exposed to the radiant energy of a Duskstone, their spiritual energies are heavily amplified to the point where the two alone cannot contain the sheer amount of power. In response, they join together and fuse once again into a single body, creating the devastating weapon known as Aegislash. Although they may only have one body, Aegislash end up with two brains in this evolution, making them literally twice as smart as they ever were before. In terms of combat abilities, this shift causes additional dramatic effects in regards to both the creature's offensive and defensive abilities. Due to the fact that Doublade consisted of two separate blades, Aegislash have all that mass and more confined to a single blade, in addition to twice the swordsman's skill, not only making them that much sturdier, but capable of withstanding blows from extremely harsh attacks. This enables them to learn both powerful and skillful moves beyond their pre-evolutions, namely the head smash attack among others. Moreover, evolution does these beasts a favor defensively by converting the sword sheaths they used to carry around into a single massive shield that can cover the majority of their main body. This shield is the source of not only Aegislash's signature technique, King's Shield, which is acquired immediately after evolving, but also its signature ability, Stance Change. In battle, these creatures can choose to take either an offensive or defensive position in battle. In their shield form, their offensive stats are extremely low, but their defensive stats are extremely high, enabling them to withstand otherwise crushing blows as if they were nothing. The moment they wish to attack, however, these creatures will remove the shield covering them, revealing their main body and convert to their blade form, switching their offensive and defensive stats to make every attack that they deliver, physical and special, a devastating blow able to cripple just about any opponent. Aegislash will remain in their blade form indefinitely after the initial attack, but they can revert back to their shield form by using the signature technique King's Shield or any other move that raises their defensive stats. The King's Shield technique works exactly like Protect, but has the added twist of greatly lowering the attack stat of a Pokemon that tries to strike with a physical attack while the move is active, mainly as a result of their shield being coated in an intense field of spiritual energy before impact. This makes Aegislash both difficult to attack and difficult to work with in terms of strategizing, but trainers that are able to use their abilities efficiently will likely have a hard time finding a sturdier ghost type to work with. It is noted though that these entities are not just prominent in battle, but the history of the Kalos region in general, as these regal ghosts were once used to determine whether or not someone had the courage, leadership qualities, and intelligence needed to rule as king of the region. As such, they were an important aspect of royal life, and often served their duty outside battle just as efficiently inside, using their spectral powers to control the minds of others, to sway the opinion of enemies and subjects in the king's favor. However, this is not to say that all was well and good, as these entities have been equally known to possess their royal leaders, to whom they work with, to build their kingdoms as Aegislash see fit, and may even drain them in particular of their life energy, leaving kingdoms to fall in their wake. Sadly or thankfully, depending upon your take, these creatures are now fairly rare in the wild, but those that do encounter them will have to be very careful, as these ghosts have hundreds of years of experience under their belt and are more than willing to demonstrate that to anyone foolish enough to get in their way.
I'm not usually the kind of gal that's really into fighting with weapons as humans do, but it can't be helped that I wouldn't mind picking up one of these entities if I ever had the choice. While their forms might seem rather simple, Honedge are effective fighters from the moment they are conceived, and that bladed body of theirs is more than able to cause serious damage to anything unarmored. The fact that they might also possibly be created from the possession of a sword by a dead soldier only makes them that much more of a creepy foe to encounter in the wild. Doublade are literally double the fun as the last entry, and are great at using their natural tag team skills to outflank targets and strike them where they least expect it. I wouldn't be caught dead trying to use them both at the same time though, as I have a feeling I'd end up just getting dragged around by the combative spirit. Even better though is the power that can be wielded by Aegislash, as these creatures are gifted in both offense and defense, easily switching between the two on the fly to catch the opponent off guard and unleash both terrible physical and special damage upon others. You might have to practice with them to make sure that they can attack and guard effectively with you as a single mind, but to anyone that masters them, there are few semi-artificial Pokémon as difficult to counter and outplay as these ghostly royal weapons.
Clad in both armor and blade, and more than able to fend for themselves from the start, the members of the Honedge family are gifted warriors that don't even need a body of their own to make a serious impact in battle. It might take some rare resources in order to make the most of them, but the sheer tactical and strategic skills and weapons at their disposal can make any confrontation with them a nail-biter worth analyzing at every single turn. Just do yourself a favor and try not to use them for combat practice if you don't have a strong relationship with them, or they might not be willing to hold back before slicing and hacking you apart without you being able to even lay a hand on their form. Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the positives it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.